Hey folks, Studio here. Let's talk about Vayne. Let's do it. Let's talk about Vayne and why she is awesome and horrible at the same time. Alright, basics. What makes her good in lane? Not much. She's not a good laner. She's bad in lane. She's bad in a normal 2v2 80 support European meta bot lane. Why is she not strong in it? Well, her skills scale really well, but they start with kind of crappy base stats, including the cooldowns. So you look at her kit, what does she have? She has Tumble, this really cool ability where you roll a short distance. It has a very short cooldown later on. Earlier on, though, it doesn't add a lot of damage, and you don't move very far, and it has a high cooldown, so you just kind of roll, you shoot once, and you're just like, I'm done. Silver Bolt, which kind of relies on you being able to do sustained damage, which most AD carries are good at escaping, or they can outtrade Silver Bolts early on because it doesn't do very much damage. Her passive, which lets you chase people down, which is redundant if you can't beat them in a one-on-one because you're chasing them down and they can just kill you anyways. Her ultimate, which, well, that's level 6, that takes a long time to get to, and is not as directly influential as, say, Ezreal's high damage burst ultimate, Ashe's ultimate with the CC, and of course, Condemn. I'd say one of the trickier skills to use, but it's a great stun if you can land it, and it's not necessarily reliable. One of those iffy things where, hey, it can go well, or it can go terribly, terribly wrong. Okay, that's why Vayne sucks. Why is Vayne awesome? When you do get to the mid game, when you do get to the late game, and you have those fun items, you have those sweet AD carry shenanigans you can do with your high crit and your high lifesteal and all that shit, guess what? You go crazy. You deal immense amounts of damage. You do not die because of how much life you're stealing with your auto attacks. If you have a front line to back you up, they go in with this awesome offensive barrage of pain going towards the enemy team. That's why Vayne is fucking awesome. Let's go ahead and break down how to play her, and how CLG Prime played her versus Pulse Gaming in the TSM Invitational. By the way, shoutouts to Pulse, they're a good team. Okay, going into the game, let's go ahead and hit the play button. Now let's just actually talk about Pulse. Let's just introduce them. If you do not know who Pulse are, they are a relatively new team. They've been doing well in the TSM Invitationals. They've been kicking ass. Shoutouts to Pulse. So Sneaky Castro on AD carry, Kenneth on AP mid, Kevin on the top lane, Support Daddy as support, which makes sense, and Onion Bagel as a jungler. Now, of course, CLG, I'm not going to let them not get the intros, so Big Fat LP on Anivia, Loco Doco on Sona, Choster on Olaf, Doublelift on Vayne, and the Hotshot GG on Shogath. But we're going to be following Doublelift on Vayne. Now, like I said, she doesn't have strong laning. This is just kind of what people will say about Vayne, and it's true. If you look at her skills, Tumble, for example, at level 1, it's an extra 22 auto attack, which is 30% of her total attack damage. That's not very high. Draven is an example of someone who can do more with this. You land one spinning axe, I think it's about 45 to 50%. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's a higher percent, and it has a much shorter cooldown. Vayne doesn't have this. So that's why Draven's stronger earlier than Vayne, even though they actually have very similar skills with Tumble. And Silver Bolt's kind of the same deal. It's good damage later on. Earlier on, doesn't deal a whole lot of extra damage, and more importantly, getting 3 auto attacks on an AD carry means they're either fighting you, which means you're probably losing, or they're letting you bully them, which means you just outplay them anyways. Condemn mentioned it before, great stun, not so reliable, you really have to set it up, and final hour, really good ultimate for late game. The invisibility is somewhat useful. If they don't have oracles, it's awesome. If not, well, get revealed. So, what is CLG's answer to Vayne having a bad lane phase? How do you deal with this? Do you just roll over and die? You try and 2v2 and hope you can't play them, which is never reliable? No, they go for a 2v1 lane. Now, what's a 2v1 lane? Well, if you watch tournaments, you'll know that sometimes teams don't go for the 1v1 top, 1v1 mid, 2v2 meta. No, 2v1 top, where you force your AD support to play against their top laner, and your top lane goes down here and gets his butt kicked. Now, it's important to note that both top laners, in this case Hotshot GG as the bot laner, do not get a lot of CS. Getting CS as a top laner is incredibly difficult in a 1v2 situation. Here's why. Watch Kevin. We'll put the camera on him. We'll even zoom in a bit. Come on, Kevin. Tell us your secrets. Tell us what you got going on. What can Kevin do right now? Not much. There's Doublelift, constantly chasing him away. There's never going to be an easy situation for Kevin to CS, and that is the point of a 2v1 lane. You have someone, preferably the support, But in this case, it's Doublelift going for the zoning, trying to keep him pressured, trying to keep him from getting any CS or even experience. And you'll note that when creeps aren't about to die, Doublelift is being aggressive with his poking. He's making sure that when creeps are dying that maybe he can go ahead and get the CS, or not maybe, but he can go ahead and get the CS and then try to pressure Kevin out of the lane. Loco Doco isn't really backing him up because him of Valor will push the wave up, and Power Chord requires him of Valor to be effective. If you look at how Doublelift CS this though, he was waiting until creeps were about to die, till the cannon minion reaches. Actually, he missed that CS. Really didn't show up for me. He waits until creeps are about to die. The reason for this is it pushes up the lane much slower than if you attack it the second you can last hit it. He's being a bit more cautious now with this many range minions. You kind of have to do it earlier. But the entire point of this was earlier on, when you CS at a low percentage so you don't push up, you get this big old creep wave here, and then CLG's plan is dive this. And this is kind of a well-executed 1v2 lane. Let's watch this gank actually, it's fun to see. You can go ahead and review it in slow motion. They do everything perfectly here. So, if you're going to gank a lane, if you're going to dive, you have to kind of have everything planned out. So Loco Doco is going to be taking the turret shots. Is he the tankiest member of the team? No, but he does the least amount in this fight. They're going to gank Kevin underneath the turret. One Power Chord, one him of Valor, and an auto attack. That's all he really needs to provide. That's all he's really going to do. Because he's taking the turret, this lets Doublelift get auto attacks off, which lets him try and build up the Silver Bolts proc, and giving him the kill. It lets Choster come in from the other angle and get his axes off, and he could have chased down Vayne and fought her underneath the turret. And Loco Doco tanks a turret shot, could have tanked one more, but he would have been at risk of dying. But still, the point is, they get the kill. They get it very cleanly and very safely. That is a well-executed dive. That is, the strength of a 2v1 lane. You can dive turrets like this at the 4-minute mark. You push hard, you really pressure the enemy quite a bit. Now, like I said, one thing that Vayne gets out of this is a lot of CS. Compared to Ezreal, she's 2 CS higher but has a kill. They also push down the turret incredibly quickly, which really gives a huge advantage early on. And if you want to know how to deal with 1v2s like that, especially the dive, you have the jungler come up here so that your own jungler hide in this bush. If they go for a gank, you show up and just fight underneath the turret, and they can't kill the jungler and the top laner underneath the turret, because if they can, wow, that's really strong. But generally, fighting underneath the turret, you can only kill one person very quickly. That was really a lot of bursts they did onto Kevin, and they could have done that onto also Onion Bagel. Still, CLG's answer for dealing with Vayne in lane is not laning Vayne, like in a normal situation. This is something you can kind of do in solo queue. You can do a 2v1 situation, go for the swap. It's not necessarily reliable. The way Loco Doco played, he played very passively. He let Doublelift do the zoning. Some supports would have pushed up the lane with him and Valor. Some AD carries wouldn't have helped zone. Like, you need to kind of know what you're doing in a 2v1. It's not an easy thing to set up. Now, what is the goal for CLG? Well, they are a late game team. They love playing for the late game. Doublelift playing Vayne fits that role, where you play for a really delayed game. They just kind of want to pressure a lot early, so Pulse can't make big plays. If they're farther behind early, Pulse will need to, fight from a disadvantage to really do anything. And CLG, what they're going for with his aggressive tower pushing is, Hotshot can still farm safely because Kevin's so denied. And now they're going to be on the defensive top. Now they're not going to be the aggressors. Now it's going to be a different game where CLG is kind of in control. And CLG is not going to make that many big plays themselves, but they will be going for the pressure, going for the aggression, and trying to keep it in control. It's kind of like if CLG is being aggressive, it means that they are in control of the entire map. Now, Doublelift has farm. Watch that trade. Watch this trade. Normally, a problem Vayne has is she is not good in lane trades. Watch how this works out. Look at how Doublelift kind of guns people down, and once he applies the pressure, he doesn't really alleviate it. So they go into Loco Doco. They get the stun onto him. Loco Doco now has Leona's passive, can take a lot of burst. Doublelift sees that, he's not in danger anymore, and he just goes crazy. He just keeps auto-attacking with the help of Loco Doco, deals a lot of bursts, and he focuses on getting the Silver Bolts proc off, takes Sneaky Caster down to a quarter HP, which is nothing. I mean, one good stun from Lokodoka once he's level 6, that would have been a kill. Of course, that's kind of redundant. Still, Doublelift, when he sees opportunities, he goes for really high pressure. And that's kind of the thing about playing an AD, especially someone like Vayne. You have to really know your limits. When he saw that he wasn't stunned, he knew he wouldn't take that much damage from Ezreal because he wouldn't proc Leona's passive. And also, he could still auto-attack, so he knew that was his time to go for the heavy pressure. Now, that doesn't mean, look, Doublelift doesn't go for excessively heavy pressure. And this is kind of Vayne's problem. Look at Ezreal's damage output in this fight. It's an example of why Vayne doesn't do well early on, because her abilities amplify her auto-attack, but only after she gets decent AD. So Doublelift gets hit by a bunch of auto-attacks, a Mystic Shot, an Essence Flux, and it's a sustained damage and burst combined with Leona's passive that really takes her down. Vayne could have done comparable damage to Ezreal there, but unfortunately, you know, the lockdown from Leona and the fact that Ezreal can do it so safely and kind of chase so quickly meant that she doesn't have the output. Ezreal, when he was level 6, by the way, would have fantastic burst, which Vayne just does not have unless she gets a Silver Bolt's proc into the wall. In that case, yeah, you die, but that still requires a couple of auto attacks. So how do you lane Vayne? Well, the way Doublelift has been doing it, he plays aggressively, he goes on the offensive, trying to kind of control the aggression in the lane. And it's this weird thing where if you get called out on it, and you were doing it wrong, you get punished quite a bit. If you do it right, you will take damage in response, but it should be an even trade. And the goal is not so much come out ahead, the goal is come out kind of equal, come out doing the same as the enemy can, and then everybody's going to be kind of scared to fight, because it's going to be one good CC from Vayne, one good burst from Leona, and somebody dies. But if everybody's low, it's going to be, well, I don't know if I want to take that risk. I don't want to take that big chance to, against a big, scary Vayne and Sona, or a big, scary Leona. It's a really weird thing where it's, you know, kind of playing off what your opponents are thinking. And the mind game in the AD carry lane is very weird because you're playing against two minds. And they have to have the coordination to really stand up against you, which, by the way, I have to once again give to Sneaky Castro and Support Daddy because they haven't been playing together that long, at least not that I know of. Now, once again, Doublelift does the same thing. He sees Sneaky Castro, he just goes for him, guns for him because he sees Support Daddy's not there. And that's something Doublelift will be very on keel with. When he sees an opening, he goes for it. He might do this to a bit too much of an extent, we already saw that earlier, but the goal is not so much that he wants to come out ahead. If he comes out equal in these trades because of how well Vayne scales and how CLG plays, where they're trying to delay to this late game, the fact that Doublelift is going 1-for-1 is okay. Now, there's not much to say about that gank, but there is a lot to say about how CLG plays this. They see Mundo going into this bush, they start the fight, and already Doublelift and Lokodoka just dash there. It's like, first things first, just get the hell over there. And I love this play. I love this just kind of supportive play from the team. You can do this in solo queue. If you see a chance to help other lanes, go for it. Go crazy. Knowing what you can do and you can't do, of course, is going to be relatively difficult. But having that good map awareness, having the support tell you to go somewhere, having yourself just watching the minimap can be quite effective. As I said before, Doublelift not really going for those better situations, like for those higher trades. He wants to trade. He's okay trading. And as look how aggressive he plays this. He goes on to Kennick, who's 2 levels higher than him, and just doesn't stop. In the end, he does get charmed. He doesn't have his cleanse to escape this. So he does have to go on the retreat because he knows he's not going to get the kill. But he sees an opening, and he will just turn to get it. Kennick going in, I can kill that. And so Doublelift tries to kill that. Unfortunately, it goes to Lokodoka, so the trade is not quite as strong as he thought it would be. And Sneaky Castro gets a couple kills himself, so now the score is, well, he actually got 2 earlier, so now the score is 3-0-1 versus 2-2-2, but still, the idea is there. Now, it's his mentality that really makes Doublelift's Vayne interesting. He doesn't play a normal kind of game. If he was Ezreal there, he wouldn't have gone for that aggressive dive if he thought he would die in exchange, because it would have been a 1-for-1. And, you know, there are the other AD carry, which would have not been Ezreal, would have gotten a kill, and it's like, that's not really worth it. Doublelift will always go balls to the wall, and that fits Vayne's kit. If you are an aggressive player, if you like going for those just kind of insane plays, Vayne fits it, because her entire kit is designed around aggression. If you look at CLG's team, they are in this kind of weird way designed around aggression and catching people out. Big Fat LP is going to kind of control the fight with his slows and block people off with the walls. This will give Doublelift a chance to really kind of chase in. Now, team fight. Let's go ahead and watch this and we'll comment on it in slow motion. Now, Doublelift in Teamfight is completely different than Doublelift in lane. And this is important to know. In teamfights, when he thinks, there's an objective at stake, a lot of kills could go to the enemy team, he plays a lot more cautiously as, whoa, I think I rewound too far. Oh, by the way, Vayne's good at doing Dragon just because of Solar Bolt, even though eventually it won't do, it'll cap out, it's still really good extra damage. Doublelift immediately on the retreat. He sees support daddy use the ultimate, and he plays really far back, kind of expecting Kevin to show up and dive on him. And this is the way, he hasn't auto-attacked yet. He finally starts auto-attacking once he's aware that Kevin's not going for him, once he's aware that the enemy team's not really focusing him down, and he still retreats from support daddy because he knows one good stun, he could die. And that is kind of how Doublelift plays Vayne in teamfights. It's really defensive, it's really laid back. He knows that he needs to be on the offensive, he needs to be the one killing people, but he will pull back. He will be the one to retreat, to try and get the enemy team out of position to chase him. Now that's weird because I've been saying Vayne's all about the aggression. Doublelift controls his aggression in teamfights. And it's because he knows how important he is. AD carries are very important, especially someone like Vayne, who your team will rely on much more just for scaling, and Doublelift plays with that in his mind. I've been saying, yeah, go crazy. You don't always have that option, and the way Doublelift plays, he looks for an opening rather than trying to just kind of force in auto attacks. It's a really cool way to play. It's like play aggressive in laning, but when things matter a bit more, when teamfights start breaking up, and it's not just going to be a kill for a kill, because a kill isn't worth that much gold. If it's going to be an ace, if it's going to be an objective like a dragon or turrets, then you have to play a lot more cautiously, and that's what Doublelift will do. He will be aggressive when he sees his team going in for the engage, but when they're kind of split like that, he's okay playing passively. He will not set up the crazy dumb dives, unfortunately. I actually have to also commend Castro. He plays a great Ezreal this game. They're both really good AD carries. I like him quite a bit. Now, what do you skill on Vayne? Well, Tumble. Cooldown is the most important thing I'd say because it lets you stay so mobile. And also the attack damage scales quite well, so you want to put points in that early. Then Silver Bolts for the DPS. It's really quite high and can be effective against somebody like Mundo. And of course, Condemn. The stun is really good, and the damage is really high when you max it out first, but it's not reliable, and that's the big issue. But like I said, when you're watching Doublelift play, it's going to be something different based on the circumstances. Like right here, they give up this turret. They knew Mundo was nearby. They don't want to give up a turret and kills. It's drastically worse than just giving up the turret. And still, Doublelift gets to free farm, so it's not really that bad of a situation. The lane will push up. He will get a lot of CS as a result. Giving up the turret and trying to fight for it when it would have been a 2v3 with Mundo going for the dive may have not really worked out, and it's this weird thing where Doublelift is willing to sacrifice a lot of his aggression, a lot of his offense, once he realizes something's at stake, and he will just, in the end, go for a passive farm game, which people have criticized him for in the past, that he plays really passively, but it's weird. It's not necessarily passive. It's thought out. Now, whether he thinks the right thing or not, that is not something you can really kind of call very easily, but still, you can ask yourself if he makes the right calls. Different AD carries will have different style, and that is no question. Some people will think Doublelift doesn't do the right plays, and in their own way they're right. In their own way they're also wrong. Mechanically though, this dude is skilled. Anyhow, back to Doublelift. So he goes Bloodthirster first. Deciding what to build on an AD carry can always be tricky. The go-to answer I'd say for duelists, for people who are going to be in the fray, is Bloodthirster. Because Bloodthirster gives you lifesteal, gives you a decent amount of damage, but the lifesteal is going to let you duel people, let you kind of stay in the fight longer. Triforce is good on Corki and Ezreal, of course, and Infinity Edge is really good if you want to go for that high damage, but you have to realize you got to be the one on the offensive. You got to be catching people off if you go Infinity Edge. Now, this is a fun little fight. We're going to talk about Doublelift mechanics. We'll watch in slow motion again, because Vayne fights you have to watch in slow motion. Okay. This chase goes on for a little bit, so let's go ahead and just watch how this sets up. So, important thing to know about Vayne's tumble is that you are in transit. Where Vayne is during the tumble, you can get hit by skill shots while tumbling, of course. So the way this fight starts out is Support Daddy with a really good ultimate kind of predicts Doublelift's tumble and gets the stun on him, despite the fact that he ends the tumble outside of range. Doublelift, of course, cleanses and flash dodges Ezreal's ultimate. And then the fight starts. He actually, I think, was thinking about retreating right there, but then realized that he would have had to run to Ahri anyways, so he goes for the aggressive chase. And this is his style. Once he sees that he's in the fight, oh, he didn't cleanse it. He actually just flashed the Ezreal ultimate, so he saved his cleanse for the exhaust. My bad on that. Once he sees that the fight is starting, he's not going to escape. He just goes aggressive, doesn't play defensively at all, and he still picks up a kill. So he's gone 1 for 1. They pick up Sneaky Castro 2. Lokodoko does go down, and it's a 2 for 2 exchange. Lokodoko does go down, and it's a 2 for 2 exchange. There we go. He also had to blow that flash. Onion Bagel, of course, being Mundo. Will he make it out of there? No. So it's a 3 for 2 in the end. And really, why did that work so well? Well, part of it was a really good reaction time coming in from CLG. They saw that they could get the kill. They saw that it was a great chance to counteract. And even though Kevin's getting a lot of free farm top lane, they denied him so much earlier where it's, yeah, alright, let him catch up a little bit if we get these extra kills. And they can now push bot lane. Doublelift, when he was out of danger, when he flashed the Ezreal, immediately turned around and he started going on the aggression. Once he realized he was dead, he did not stop fighting. That's important to know. A lot of people, when they think they're going to die, they freak out and they try and do everything they can to survive. Sometimes you will die. Man, that sounds really harsh. like a life lesson, but okay, you will die in this game, and it will be unavoidable. When you cannot avoid dying, you've got to fight as hard as you can. You want to waste their summoners. You want to possibly waste time. That can vary a bit, but for the most part, you want to make them blow as much as they can, killing you, possibly getting a kill in response. That's why so often you'll see people gank a top laner, and once they get to the turret, the top lane will try and turn around, get an ignite off, get a kill. That's because they think they're going to die, and it's like, well, I'm already in this place where I might pick up a kill, let me try and get something out of it. Doublelift saw this. He saw, alright, I blow my flash, I blow my cleanse, I'm going to kill Support Daddy. And he got the kill. What is this leading to? We'll look at the gold. Doublelift has 5,800, Ezreal has 5,300. That difference is going to be mostly from the turrets I've been taking on the map. Actually, the one turret and the one dragon is entirely the difference. And it's not a huge lead. But Doublelift, he's content to trade. He's content to go 1 for 1. And you have to have that kind of mindset as playing as Vayne. Alright, you want to be ahead, that's great. But if you can stay on par, if you can stay equal, that's just as good. Well, that's really good. And staying equal, Doublelift knows that he's still getting a lot of income. Ezreal's getting a lot of income too, he's well aware of it, but he doesn't care about that. Ezreal is his own thing. Doublelift can just keep the pressure up and carry with the same amount of gold Ezreal has, as long as they're both getting a lot of gold. And it's important to note, Doublelift's getting a lot of farm, he's getting a lot of CS. So is Ezreal. If Ezreal wasn't getting a lot of CS, if Ezreal had very little gold, and Vayne also had very little gold, that'd be a much worse situation. So Doublelift isn't just trading in the sense that they're going 1 for 1. They're going 1 for 1, but getting a lot of income as a response. Also, by the way, check it out. Vayne has webbed feet. It's Dragon Slayer Vayne skin. It's supposed to be a dragon. But still, she's webbed. She can go swimming now. I know they're claws. Okay. It's weird talking so much about the mindset of Vayne, but it's really a character you have to go and think, and I don't care if I'm super far ahead. That's not my goal, and it's not. You shouldn't want to really do that. Well, you should, but it's a lot to aspire to. And realize Doublelift does a crap load of damage now. He's got Tumble at level 5. He's dealing an extra 106 damage with every Tumble. So if you get auto attack Tumble, that's going to be 500 damage, and Tumble is an auto attack reset. If you get auto attack Tumble auto attack, that's 700 damage plus the true damage from her passive, and that's ramping up very quickly. So once Vayne really starts to get the ultimate and the crit damage to higher levels, level 11 is actually really big on Vayne because an extra, I believe, 20 damage, might be 15. I think it's 15, extra 15 damage on her ultimate, but the longer duration is very important. Now, note this. Final hour doesn't last very long. At level 1, 8 seconds, then 10 seconds, then 12 seconds. So your duration in a team fight with the ultimate will go up as you level, and that's going to be important to note because it deals a lot of damage. Now, how much damage is it doing? An extra 40 damage for 10 seconds, and the 90 movement speed from her passive. Okay. What is the plan for CLG Prime, CLG North America? They can keep selling it. They're happy with where they are right now. They'd like to be farther ahead, but who wouldn't? But they know Doublelift is farming, they know Big Fat LP is farming, they're going to get into these really controlled fights, and it should work out. Actually, Big Fat LP isn't farming, never mind that. But they know that Doublelift is farming, and Hotshot GG is farming, I guess. I think Big Fat LP, of course, playing Nivea. Nivea has really bad CSing early on in the game, and Kenix playing Nari, who has really good CSing early on in the game, probably punished him for it. And by probably, I mean I know he did, because I know how Kenix plays. He plays very awesomely and aggressively. Once again, shouts to Pulse. Cool team. Now, go 2x speed for a bit. Doublelift is just farming right now. They're okay with passive play. They're okay with not going for big fights. We're just kind of waiting for Doublelift to get more and more items. At this point, he has a Zeal. He has a Negatron Cloak. And actually, let's talk about the cleanse. So what does Doublelift want to cleanse? Ezreal doesn't have any debuffs except Ignite. Ahri has Ignite and Charm. Aurelia has her stun, no Ignite. Support Daddy has a shitload of stuns, holy shit. And Mundo has his cleavers. Oh, Support Daddy also has exhaust. So what do you use cleanse on as Vayne? Well, the best answer is you can kind of use cleanse on whatever the hell you want. Getting hit by any of those CCs can be possibly devastating. And it's going to be up to Doublelift to know to save cleanse for not just getting CC'd, but getting CC'd in a position where A, his damage is really needed, so he needs to auto-attack, or B, when he knows he's going to be in danger. So if he gets CC'd in a team fight, he'll want to pop cleanse immediately just to keep auto-attacking, because 2 seconds of Vayne not hitting stuff could be incredibly important. It'll be devastating. The other part is going to be, well, if Vayne doesn't cleanse right now, will she get chain CC'd and bursted? And it's not so much just get hit by a CC and use cleanse. It's going to be about using cleanse in a very smart manner. Using cleanse when you know you're in danger of just getting completely screwed, because guess what? They can kill you. And that's not easy to determine. The exhaust will of course be a big thing, but Vayne, even though she does a lot of auto attack damage, the true damage will ignore it, so not necessarily every situation will be necessary to use the cleanse on exhaust, but it probably will be. It'll probably be the best choice because it sets everything else up, and that's kind of what it goes for. So let's watch this fight. This is why Vayne kinda owns. This is also why Doublelift owns. How did that work? How did that fight work? Whoa, that took a long time to go back for. Weird. Okay, so Doublelift, his reaction. Auto attack, run. Auto attack, run. This is kind of how you kite as a ranged AD. So before Kevin even gets his stun off, he's already been hit by True Sharp, Quicksilver arrows. Immediately cleanses the stun. Tumbles forward to get a better angle so Kevin gets stunned at the wall. And then just gets auto attacks and finishes off Kevin. Uses the ultimate too. And actually, he saves his last tumble. If Kevin was going to survive that, he could have tumbled, and he just saves it for CSing. And that is the strength of Vayne. That is why she's a good duelist. Because she deals more damage than other people can, and as a result, she will win the duels. She also has exceptional single target control. That was a really cool fight to see, because that's just kind of the situation Doublelift was in. Kevin really didn't do anything. Kevin could have dashed forward, he knew he would have gotten knocked back, that's why he didn't use a dash in the first place. Also, if he dashed forward to Doublelift before Doublelift attacked, he wouldn't get the stun off. So, Kevin tried to walk forward, as a result Doublelift punished him to hell and back, and it was really cool to see. And that is kind of how you play Vayne. You play this really aggressive personality where it's about this kind of being on the aggressive path, being on the war path. Kevin If he had the chain vest, might have survived that, but even then, the true damage really would have had a huge impact, and that's always something nice about Vayne. You will always have the true damage to rely on, even before the enemy gets something like a Last Whisper. Some Vayne builds may not even include Last Whisper, just because you don't need to really deal with people who have armor, just because you have true damage to kind of make up for it. Still, it's a good pick on her. Vayne builds are weird. You can kind of build whatever, and eventually you will need a very important defensive item. In this case, what is Doublelift going for? He's actually just got the Negatron Cloak to survive damage. He has Cleanse right now, he's confident in it. And he goes Phantom Dancer, Bloodthirster. Now, why is this a good combination? Well, Vayne has decently high auto attack damage because of her ultimate, which is going to be giving her an extra 40 and eventually 55 auto attack damage. And Bloodthirster. So you get the high AD from an item and your ultimate. So that will give Doublelift 300 AD once he hits level 16, which is going to be insane. The movement speed is once again critical to how Doublelift plays her. It's all about control, all about mobility, and the crit will work really well with the high AD. Also, attack speed scales really well with Vayne because of her passive. Like, so just watch Doublelift chase down Kevin. Kevin knows he can't just walk away from her because of the passive, and the Phantom Dancer tries to juke, and as a result, gets his ass kicked. Come on. There we go. And another fight is funny because, like, if you watch CLG, the rest of their team's perspective, they're in this big team fight, but everybody just kind of disengages. This Vayne just killed everybody. Support Eddie, does he make it out? No. But this is all just like this big long fight. Had Vayne been up here, they actually could have picked up probably 1 or 2 more kills, but Kevin would have been able to try and stop her. So this whole fight is weird because the critical AD carry for CLG isn't there, but I mean, Doublelift is focusing on the duel. Now, you'll note that's not Vayne in a team fight. That was Vayne in a 1v1 near a team fight. But you don't necessarily want a team fight as Vayne. You do, and you don't. Duels are always going to be a better option if you are scary, like Doublelift is. If you're not really super far ahead, but decently well off compared to the enemy team. Right now, Doublelift is super far ahead. But he could be short. He could not have the Negatron Cloak and only have 8,500 gold, which would be less than Hotshot GG. And a little more than Kennick, 800 gold more than Kennick, and he'd still be really scary. So it's not so much that Doublelift is far ahead, he is, but it's that if Doublelift was just equal with the enemy team, he'd still be one of the best duelists in the game. Vayne does have to worry for people like Jax, by the way. Jax will wreck you. Jax will just stun you and kill you. But if you do get away from Jax, he can't do anything. That's how it all works out. You just got to be on the mobile, be on this really aggressive path, but able to use Tumble defensively. Tumble's a really weird skill because you can use it defensively, but you have to be offensive when you do that because you have to auto attack right afterwards. So it's a kiting skill, but it's a kiting skill that forces you to auto attack. You can't just keep kiting with it, which is what makes it so cool. It's also why, like I said, it's weird to use Janna with someone like Vayne because she wants to kite so much, and you can kite with Vayne, but it's more about locking them down and controlling them, and when they do go for you, you finally start kiting. So it's like Janna has to target differently. This is a weird rant. Janna wants to kite a lot. Vayne wants to kite a bit, but really be on the aggressive path. I don't know. It's weird. Vayne's really, really weird. Okay. Now, Vayne in a team fight. I'm kidding, they run away. I do love that Doublelift still goes for the auto attack, gets taken down to half HP immediately. And it's just kind of a sign that Vayne, despite having items, despite being scary, is incredibly squishy. She's super squish, is how I would describe her. Pulse, they're behind goal, but they still play on the aggressive. I actually really like that about them. As Vayne, until you get a Guardian Angel, you will always be squishy. And in the case with the Quicksilver Sash, Doublelift can at least escape CC, but he's still squishy. You don't build tanky on Vayne because you really can't afford to. It doesn't fit her playstyle. Getting like a Warmogs or Frozen Mallet wouldn't do much for you. But Doublelift still, what makes him scary right now is the lifesteal. It's looking at pressing C, looking at his lifesteal, 29%. So every auto attack he does, he heals about 80 HP. And then with a tumble, it's going to be about 120. So that's a lot of regeneration coming in just from auto attacks. And that's going to be the crux of how Doublelift fights. I forgot Lokodoko missed the ultimate there. That was such a good ultimate. When he's in a team fight, he wants things to go a very certain way. He wants Lokodoko to be locking down the enemy team. He wants Chauster to be in their face, forcing them to react to him. Really, Doublelift's main goal in a team fight is to not be the focus. If he has a really strong front line, kind of pushing forward, being aggressive for him, getting the focus of the enemy team, that's going to be as good as the enemy team being locked down, because if they don't focus Vayne immediately, they're dead. And that's something important. Vayne, in a way, can carry a game by herself, but you kind of need a backup. You need people there to just be scary. So they get focused down, they get bursted down, they get CC used on them. And with that, Vayne is able to go ahead and get her damage off freely. Any AD carry can benefit from this, but because of the scaling from Vayne, Vayne's just exceptionally strong with it. It's like you want to lock her down, but if you can't lock her down reliably without, being kited or just being put in a bad situation by your front line, it's a great situation to be in. So watching Doublelift, like this is a team fight. He goes on the chase. When he sees support daddy coming towards him, he backs off, and he still tries to stay in the front line. He's trying to be ready for any sort of catch. CLG, being defensive, actually backs off from this fight, but that was just Doublelift, trying to poke forward as much as he can. Once he saw the rest of his team back up, he leaves immediately. He can't be Ezreal. He can't go for extra pokes. He can't be hit by a cleaver. He's like, screw it. It's not happening, and they back off. And that's important to remember. Like I said, Doublelift controls his aggression well. Once he senses that he's in danger, if he can escape it, he will back off. If he's dead, he dies. But he dies in the manliest way possible, getting kills. And right there, Doublelift could have sacrificed himself. He could have picked up a kill and would have gone down in exchange for one of the enemy team. But Doublelift, he matters a lot, and he would have picked up Mundo, which would have I like you, Mundo, but you're not as valuable as Vayne. Actually, I don't like Mundo. What am I talking about? He's annoying. Okay. I just want to fast forward a bit. Look for that team fight. Doublelift farm. Doublelift doesn't even farm that much by this game, by the way. Looking at Hotshot, he's at 260. Doublelift's at 240. This has all been about going equal. And it's important to remember Doublelift does farm incredibly well. He is one of those guys who can have, like, incredibly high, like 300, 400 AD CS towards the end of a game. But he doesn't need to play that way. Also, Green Elixir, amazing on Vayne. I'm sorry, it's going away though, so buy it while you can. It does make hyper carries like Vayne incredibly strong. Actually, Vayne has 1.8 attack speed. Also, something extra to note, Lokodoko buys Zeeks. When I casted this game and I saw the Zeeks, I'm like, holy crap, because that makes Vayne super powerful. If you're a support and you got like a Vayne for a bro, buy a Zeeks. It'll make her happy. CLG, though, they know they're ahead. They just want to apply pressure, make a really comeback, and they want to go for that team fight. So like I said, Vayne benefits quite a bit from these catches, from this aggression, and he spent that second there just kind of auto-tagging the turret, waiting for his team to set something up. And once his team sets something up, then he goes for the catch, then he goes for the power. And he keeps going for this turret, because he knows that in the end that matters more. I love this. He's just like, all right, what's going to matter, going for support daddy or killing that turret? Killing that turret, because then they can immediately go on support daddy. Of course, support daddy doesn't get con, and Doublelift just well, they get a turret still. They get that map control. A very fast Baron pick, and now this is the cleanup phase. Vayne with a Baron buff and a green potion, and just the kit that Doublelift has, will be critting for 700 damage. Actually, a little more, like 770, because of the mastery from the offensive tree. When her ultimate's up. That is insane. That can happen to an even higher extent with Tumble. Will be about 1,000 damage. This is 30 minutes in the game, and Vayne can crit for 1,000 damage. Vayne doesn't have... Oh, Vayne actually has a lot of items, but she doesn't have, a full kit yet. She still has 2 items to replace. The pickaxe needs to be Infinity Edge, and Doran's Blade needs to be not a Doran's Blade. So this is kind of how Vayne power gets out of control. Looking at Sneaky Castro, how much damage can he deal with a crit? 223, he deals about 460, 500 damage with a critical strike, and he does get extra auto attack from Mystic Shot. But, okay, so now he finishes Infinity Edge. He still doesn't deal as much damage as Vayne can with a crit. And that's just because of how well Vayne scales. That's because Vayne is kind of based off being that hyper carry. It's weird because when you first see her numbers, they don't look that good, but then everything adds up so quickly. Tumble with a 50% auto attack damage, which is also amplified by the ultimate, it all just adds up to this incredibly high number super fast. Now, Doublelift, go for that pressure, go for that pressure, go for that pressure, go for that team fight. No need to watch him rush up the lane. This is the best situation to be in as Vayne. Once you're ahead, it's hard to fall behind, and that's important to know. You can always get bursted down, but the way Doublelift plays, because he has that Quicksilver Sash and he has Cleanse, he has 2 escapes for the chain CC that they have over on Pulse. Also, I love that Pulse response as well. You're gonna kill our stuff. We'll take your top or bot turret. They actually keep split pushing. I love that they go for this pressure. Now, watch Doublelift kill everybody. And he could kill Kenneth if you really want to go for an aggressive dive. Now, it's important to note this is a 5v3. And Pulse had a very specific plan here. Delay them from going back because CLG was stranded blue pill. And that would let Aurelia take the bot turret. So, wait for that moment when they turn. Once they're in range of the Rupture, they catch that support daddy with that wall. And then Doublelift immediately pops the ultimate. He has a Reverie going on him. He's moving for 600 boost speed, chasing down the enemy team. And his goal is just auto-attack, chase, auto-attack, chase. It doesn't matter who he's auto-attacking. He's trying to get whoever's in auto-attack range. He goes for support daddy because he had that Quicksilver proc. He flashes out of the CC, out of the Leona ultimate to keep chasing. And it's all about this aggressive chase. This is Vayne at her strongest. This is Vayne in the best situation she possibly can be in. Normally, there was no big 5v5 team fight this game, unfortunately. At least up to this point, and Vayne right now is just so far ahead. It doesn't really matter. But that is kind of what you play with Vayne. You go for those chases. You'll note that CLG's answer to Vayne being targetable in team fights was to not team fight ever. Now, no, that doesn't mean that the team fights are over yet. GGs were called, but the game was actually not quite over yet. And Pulse, they fight it out a bit. Aurelia does escape. Doublelift now is scary as hell, and they go for this last push. Now this is the 5v5 team fight, but I will say now Vayne is super duper far ahead. Like before it was, well, she's a bit far ahead. Now, holy crap, she has a Lost Whisper to go along with the rest of the kit. Also, I thought that became Infinity Edge. My bad. Infinity Edge is also scary on her because of crits. Okay. So this starts out with the cache. That's how all Vayne team fights should start out, with someone Vayne can attack for free. They burst down support daddy. Now it's a 4v5. Now the enemy team has to run, and Vayne is one of those characters, kind of like Rumble, where when you're on the chase, you're devastating. Doublelift, it's funny the way he moves. You can tell he's trying to move back and forth in case he has to juke skill shots, but really he's positioning himself to auto attack, move forward, auto attack, move forward. Once he sees the opportunity, well, let's watch this team fight. He had 1x speed, he's at 2x speed. I'll play about it in a sec. So, yeah, he's gonna be playing a lot. Watch how Doublelift attacks this inhibitor, and this is the chase that Doublelift pushes on. This is why people say he has good mechanics. He auto attacks and moves forward. He auto attacks and moves forward. The reason for this is he wants to push in case they don't pick up these kills, in case they don't get the lockdown, which they do. And when he sees, he moves forward. But until then, he wants to be, going for the backup option of pushing. Once he's on the chase, it's tumble into a condemn into an auto attack to immediately burst down Ahri. At this point, Doublelift then turns on the inhibitor, but sees Sneaky Caster out of position and just goes for the kill, goes for the aggression. And I love that once he sees him turn around, he goes back to the rest of his team, forces the flash out, and he could have kept chasing had he not flashed. And then he kills Onion Bagel. Rest in peace, Onion Bagel. Then he kills Sneaky Caster too, because he deals so much damage. And the Nexus will explode. Let's watch that and enjoy the beautiful harmony of destruction. And Kevin, does Kevin die? Does Kevin die? Nope. So, how do you play Vayne? Okay, 3 simple steps. If you can avoid laning, avoid laning. But farm a lot, farm and be equal with your opponent as like you want to get gold. That is your main goal, get gold. If you trade 1 for 1, but you're still getting a lot of gold, the enemy AD is getting a lot of gold too, perfect. Both of you can scale at, or both of you can get the same amount of gold. If you're at a high gold level and it's the same, that's fine, but your goal is just be rich. Doesn't matter if the enemy AD has the amount of gold you do. Okay, afterwards, how do you fight in team fights? You can avoid fighting in team fights and just go for good duels. Well, we saw what Doublelift can do in duels. But if you can't, you want your team to be that beefy front line. As Vayne, you're very dependent on your team. You can't do quite as much as other ADs can on their own. Someone like Ezreal, you know, he's moving back in and back forward, or moving in, poking from a far range. Vayne, you go in, you auto attack like the true manly Vayne you are, and you got to win that fight. You got to be there being aggressive. So you need a front line to really beat your team. So farm, duel, have a team that runs in for you. Now, if your team is not scary, they can always be the meat shields. You just got to be ready to be on the defensive. And I hope this was a fun look at Doublelift's play. I don't know, it was almost not just Vayne, it was just looking at Doublelift because it's fun to analyze his stuff. Anyhow, that's all for now. Adios, folks.